Everyone, I am so happy to be back with you. We're doing this experiment continually about how I am becoming this process of launching a media tech company and what I am learning about myself along the way. For those three or four of you who've been watching, I hope that you have found something with this. This is definitely great practice for where we're going. And without further ado, let's get going. And we're back. So definitely have been a week of highs and lows. Getting a little fatigued from trying to make some of these deals happen. I had to make a trip to New York to check on my oldest daughter, and I was knowingly going into what I knew was a government shutdown. But what do you do when your daughter needs to see you? I knew that I had several people tell me, like, well, look, you're probably going to get stranded. Even the person that was helping us with our travel said, I'm not so worried about you going, concerned about how you're going to make it back. But my daughter needed me and I needed to see her, and I was willing to take that risk and had a great time. And it was food for my soul, and I think it was good for her as well. Shout out for Esther Young, who's always navigating me in places, because if it was up to me, I probably wouldn't travel at all. But I appreciate that, and giving me and my daughter that space. It was really needful, and giving me the extra push to make that trip. So, Jamie, I love you if you're watching, and I would do it all over again because you mean that much to me. But made it back. Had to pivot about with the business. Got a lot of you have a lot of people who are coming and saying, hey, they want to help. And in some ways, I believe they do. But sometimes you can have an idea that is just, they really can't wrap their mind around. Or what I realized or had to realize about myself is that sometimes, in the words of Stephanie Brandon, I'm trying to do things that's never been done before. Now, I have never looked at myself in that light of being an innovator, someone who was creating stuff. In the words of Clara Reed, I was just doing the next thing that made sense. And that's what I've always done. What's the next thing that makes sense? But I've noticed that there are two things that I've noticed. Some people have a problem outside of Mississippi with someone doing something that has never been done before. They question your ability to do it because of where you're from. Now, what has been equally disturbing is that sometimes I'm encountering people who are from here and they're questioning whether we should be the first to do something, because it's like we feel like we're less. And I just don't feel that way. I believe we're supposed to win. I believe that if God gave me this idea, why shouldn't it be me? Right? Um, but doing that, I started thinking about, what do we say to ourselves? Like, what are the internal conversations that we have? Because what this journey has done more than anything, it has made me acutely aware of what I call interoception. It's not what I call. The definition of interoception is like the body's ability to talk to you. And what I have been doing a lot is paying attention to, what is my body saying to me? What is my internal talk? And some of it has been disturbing. I come to find out that sometimes I'm not saying really good things to myself, or I'm not feeling good things about myself. So last week I had two instances where someone sent me a video. My mom was the first to send me a video, and it was entitled "Talking to Your Nervous System." And you know that the nervous system has what we've primarily been focused on, about how do we shift from survival to rest and digest, or how we go from sympathetic nervous system to parasympathetic nervous system. So I'm gonna pull up the video and let you check it out.
Here's something I'm sure no one ever told you before, and I want you to know. Your nervous system can actually hear you. Every thought, every word you speak sends electrical signals through your entire body. When you say things like, I'm tired, or I'm stressed, or I can't handle this, your brain listens and your body follows. Your muscles tense up, your breathing changes, and your chemistry matches those exact words. But the moment you start saying, I'm calm, I'm strong, I'm healing, your nervous system shifts. Your heart rate lowers, your mind clears, and your body begins to respond in a completely different way. The truth is, your body is always listening to you all the time, so start speaking to it with kindness.
Now, I agree with him, and shout out to my mom for sending me that video. I agree with him, but the one thing that I must make a caveat is your body will not listen if you're lying. Like, when I was growing up, they had that name it and claim it. Like they say, okay, I'm gonna be a multimillionaire, and you were just supposed to say it, and just because you said it, but if internally you did not believe it, it didn't work. And it's the same way with the nervous system. The nervous system is so interwired within us; it knows when we're lying to ourselves, even if we have fooled ourselves. So I say that talking to your nervous system will work, but I will say if you're not honest, it will not work. Um, and that's one of the most amazing things I found out about this journey is that the more honest I am, the better the relationship I can create with myself. And I say this over and over that this is kind of like the biggest things that is turning my life around is not trying to create a better relationship with someone else's, but how do I create a better relationship with me? How do I get to the point that I'm honest and love myself? And I did not start at love because it was just too far of a jump, especially since I struggled with such self hatred over the years. So I had to get to the point of making peace. I think peace was my first place. And when I tell you listening to your body, what I mean is if you're having pain, that's a signal. If you're having tension, that's a signal. If you're having headaches, that's a signal. But you've got to start listening and listen internally saying, what are you trying to tell me? And we're so disconnected from who we are. That's why we can't get these nuanced situations to happen for us. That's why the manifestations are not taking place because we're coming from a place of not being honest. So that whole alignment thing is all about telling the truth within yourself. That whole alignment thing is about getting your heart and your mind and heart and mind coherence so you can start operating from what I call your authentic frequency. Because that is the key to making all the magic happen. Right. So I was listening to the other video and I couldn't get it to download so I could let you hear. But what was interesting was that he talked about he was mentioned to this guy, and I don't want to jack his name up, but he did this experiment about how water responds to what you say. And I'm going to play you a little bit of the clip, and we're just going to kind of talk about it because there's a very interesting point that deals with neuroscience and this. So just take a listen. So this is frozen water in harmony. Word harmony was just being spoken to. This word is eternal. This is water that's been frozen and it changed the molecular structure of what it looks like. Thank you. See what it's saying? And gratitude is spoken to this water over and over again. And you crystallize it, this is the shape it took. This is what joy looks like. And this is just speaking to water. This is I think it takes 30 days to keep saying the same thing to water over and over again for 30 days. These are the different religions, how they were speaking. Religion that water. This is what evil is like. Wow. This is what peace is. This is water crystallized before prayer, and this is what it looked like after prayer. Now, this is something that you can go research yourself. I don't want you to take my word for it. See if the guy's name is going to come back up again. but this is an Asian scientist who did the study and got these guys there continue to do his research on letting you see what water looks like. This is what food looks like when you say you food. This is what this is what the water crystallized to look. Dr. Emoto. Do a search on Dr. Emoto and his experiments with water, and you'll start seeing more and more of this. But the thing that got me was, if we are 70 to 80% water, what are we saying to ourselves, and what type of effect is that having internally to us? And I don't want you to start thinking about just words. I want you to realize words are nothing without the emotion, nothing without the feeling, because it's not just the words you say, but it's that heart-mind coherence that's attached to the words that you say. And not just the words that you say, but what you think and feel, what you think about yourself. Because thinking about yourself, if water is being affected like that from just the words and the thoughts, just imagine to every cell of your body is 70 to 80% water. Just imagine what it is doing internally to you. And I realized that until I started to change the relationship that I had with myself and the connection that I had with myself, nothing was going right. I feel great most days now, but there are like these little victories that are happening along the way that sometimes I'm so focused on the big stuff that I don't see the small things. And that's what I really want to work on within the next week or so. Because my brother, he called and I told him I went to New York, and he started saying, "Oh, well, I know you just panicked. I just know you just, because everyone that knows me and my family know I don't like crowds. And New York is a very crowded place. It's a very busy place. It would not be the place that I would want to go. But I started this journey several years ago, working on trying to rewire my nervous system. And when I went to 2 years ago, when I went to New York to visit Jamie the first time, I left where we were staying by myself and I walked through Brooklyn by myself. Now, I'm not going to lie, it was a challenge because my nervous system was going crazy, but it wasn't out of control. I could breathe, I could do the techniques that I've been working on, and it helped me kind of get to a place of regulation. Went to Manhattan, went to Times Square. Not going to lie, it was a challenge. But when I went back to New York this time and going through the airport and being delayed, I didn't even think about it. It didn't even faze me. And I realized that a lot of times we're trying to fix what is wrong with us in the midst of crisis. That is the wrong time to try to fix anything. When you're in the midst of a crisis, that's not the time to implement these things that we're talking about right now. That's like being thrown in the water and saying, okay, let me learn how to swim. No, you learn how to swim before you fall into the water. So the things that I'm talking about, if you're not trying to do them every day, if you're not trying to self-regulate daily on small things, when the big moments arise, you're not going to be ready. You're not going to be capable of handling those moments. So this whole thing that I'm doing right now, I've always got a plan. I'm going to launch a podcast at one point, but what I'm doing now, this has been the practice of overcoming the fear of even just talking to the camera without having it perfect, right? And now, I'm not going to lie, I'm cheating the system a little bit because I'm not advertising so much, but I'm still showing up every week. I'm still going through this process because what I am trying to build is capacity so that when the bigger moments come, I'm ready for it. I am changing what I say to myself. I'm changing the relationship that I have with myself even before I come on this, because most of the times you will see the nervousness that I had if you go back and look at the old tapes. This is how winning is done. It is going through the practice, taking the stuff, the data, working on my nervous system, saying, okay, you screwed up only 5 times this time, but this time you didn't want to kill yourself when it was over. That's progress. And in the beginning, you can go back and look at those tapes and see how terrified I was because I didn't want to make mistakes. I didn't want to look bad. But what I've been working on is how to quell that nervous system, how to go through this process, rewire the things that I have to make me think that, okay, I have to be perfect. I've been doing it in plain sight. I've been doing it in front of you every week. This is how it's done. You got to practice the rewiring process. I was listening to this video today and I wanted to share it, but it was just so long. I didn't think we could get there. But it talked about what another tool called STOP when it comes down to regulating your emotions. And it's the acronym of STOP, but I listened to it long enough to get to S. But the one thing it said was, as soon as you sense your breathing changing and you start to feel that this situation is about to get out of hand, you literally stop, even if it means walking away mid conversation. And they say that may seem awkward, but it is better than doing something or losing your temper or doing something emotionally to them or yourself to damage yourself that it hurts you in the long run. So he was saying literally stop. The next one we got to is start talking about the T, and it was saying taking the time to breathe. It's because what you have to, when you're in a situation and you feel yourself tensing up, when you stop, that gives your prefrontal cortex a moment to catch up to what you're feeling. So you can kind of think rationally. Because when we slip into anger, when we slip into fear, the prefrontal cortex is going offline. And now we're going to react with whatever is there. So if you have a whole build-up of anxiety, you can't expect to start operating in peace in a moment in which you're triggered. But what you can do is stop and give yourself a moment. Remember the whole thing about 1, 2, 3 manifest? You stop, acknowledge the emotion that you're feeling. I am anxious at this moment, or I am angry. This is just a technique to simply bring your prefrontal cortex back online. Then everything that you do is now focused on emotionally regulating. Okay, this is where I am. How can I get to the next best place? You should never be trying to jump from depression to joy. You're like, well, okay, how can I get to contentment? Because this is a muscle that you are building. When we start talking about capacity, when we start talking about emotional regulation, what we're really talking about is how do we build emotional capacity for our emotions and how we build a better resiliency in how we respond. Because I always felt like life was happening to me and I did not know how to infect or have agency to make life move in the direction that I wanted. Everything that was happening to me was like it happened to me. We was watching Jimmy and Jamie. We were watching this movie. Me and Jamie Ness was watching this movie this weekend, and a guy said this in the movie. He said, "I didn't know how to break up. You know, like I was just hoping that one of us would get cancer and the other one die because I didn't know how to do it." And they laughed, but I was that person. I didn't know. People chose me. They were like, "Oh, we go together." I'm like, oh, "Okay." I didn't know how to. I had no agency at all, and I had to wait for them to say, "Well, look, this doesn't work anymore." I didn't know how to do what's in the best interest of me, and that was because of the fear. I was so afraid of what other people would think. I was so afraid of how they would treat me. I was so afraid if I hurt their feelings, what that would mean, that I had to practice building agency on small things. And those small things of building agency was saying, hey, I want to go to this movie. Or, hey, no, I want to eat at this place. I was so silenced within myself when it came to agency that I would not express how I felt, what was in my best interest, what did I want to do. But what I was expressing to myself was how much I hated myself and how little I thought of myself and how much of a critic I was to myself. So just imagine those type of words being spoken to myself or just being felt. Imagine what that water was happening inside of me, what it was turning to like what crystallization it was doing, or what kind of energy I was exuding, what type of energy was being expelled from me. And here's the big one: if I hated me, how in the world could I expect for everyone else to love me? And even when they did, and even when they told me, I didn't believe them. I couldn't, because how could you care about me when I didn't care about myself? When young women would tell me, "Hey, I love you," I would always say, "Why?" I thought they saw something or knew something that I didn't know. And I was looking for them to give me some type of secret. And I'm telling you, and a lot of my relationships failed because I was looking for them to love me past the self hatred that I had for myself. And that was impossible. They could never love me enough to fill the void that I was digging, that I was creating, because I did not have a healthy relationship with me, right? I tried to fill it with all my gifts. I tried to fill it with my ability. I tried to fill it with my intellect. I tried to fill it with my work ethic because I felt that if I worked hard enough, then I would feel good about myself. And I did, but it was not long lasting. It was temporary. My work ethic, and hold on to your seats for this one. My work ethic was a survival mechanism for me. It was like, this is the one thing that I could do. So what I did, I became a person who overserved. And through the overserving, it also spoke to the lack of agency because I was saying yes to things that I knew I should not have said yes to. I was doing things to get people to like me, but not necessarily for the right reasons, right? I was always in a constant state of sacrificing myself for hoping that you would love me in return for what I did. And I was not a good receiver. I suffer from what you call compensatory receiving. Compensatory receiving is this, that if you give me something, that means I owe you something in exchange. Other than that, I would not receive it. And by not being a good receiver, I was training the universe not to give to me. I'm going to say that again. When you are not a good receiver, you are training the universe not to give to you. Everything rides on this relationship that we have with ourselves. Are you listening to what your body is saying? Are you paying attention when your body says you're tired, you need to go to sleep? Are you listening when your body says, hey, you're hungry, you need to eat something? Are you listening when your body's saying you're in pain? Stop. So let's make this very clear. The way you treat yourself is how you're going to attract the people and teach them how to treat you. So if you are constantly in relationships where people don't value you, don't treat you well, or don't respect you, I guarantee you can track it back that you don't do those things to yourself. Because like attracts like. We can go anywhere we want to go in the world. If you do not change the relationship that you have with yourself, you will continue to attract the relationships, the friends, the business opportunities, all those things. If you want things to radically change in your life, the type of people who are in your circle, the type of people who come and attach themselves to you, the type of people who are there with you, change the relationship you have with yourself. If you change that relationship first and foremost, that you start getting to the point that you're saying, hey, I'm listening to you. I'm listening to me. I'm going to treat me well. I'm going to do the things that in my best interest. Listen, this hurts, so I'm going to stop. When you start healing the relationship with you, your body will stop being your enemy. Because right now, some of you all's bodies are your enemy because they feel that you are a threat to its existence. And that's why the inflammation, that's why the mucus, that's why all these pains, it is the body screaming that we are not friends. Am I saying anything to anybody? I sincerely hope somebody's getting this tonight. But I'm not telling you something that I think will change your life. I'm telling you what I know will change your life. This is what is changing my life even as we speak. And I'm here to tell you that things that I have been praying for years, I'm talking about a decade, are happening just like this now. And the crazy part, it is happening so smoothly at times. I don't even know that the prayers have been answered until I stop and say, oh my God, I have been praying for this for 10 years. What are you saying to yourself? What do you feel about yourself? How can you be a winner if you really feel that, if you really believe that you're a failure? Or you treat yourself like a failure? How do winners treat themselves? How do winners celebrate themselves? You want to know what is a real test of how you really feel about yourself? Is how you handle compliments. I did not handle compliments well at all. And what I mean by that was a person would say, "Oh, you look nice today." I'm like, "But look at you. Look how great." I would always deflect. I couldn't just receive it. I couldn't just take it in like, "Oh, well, you look great." And I couldn't just say, "Thank you." I felt compelled that I had to say something. I felt compelled that I had to do it. Or if they said, "Well, oh well, don't you look nice?" Oh, but girl, look at this scar that's in my face, or look at this dimple, or this whatever. Couldn't receive it. If you can't receive compliments, you are a poor receiver. If you can't receive help, you are a poor receiver. Your pride and your ego are in the way. And pride is not thinking that you're better than people. Pride is being so overly consumed by how you look that you'd rather suffer than to look small or to look in need. And if we're going to go scripturally, pride, God hates a prideful look. Oh man, this journey that I've been on is more about who I've been becoming, way more than where I'm going. And my inner being was, I was praying and I was heard in my inner being, like, what's still important to you? Is it the journey or the destination? I'm gonna be honest with y'all, it's still the destination. I hadn't gotten there yet. I'm trying, but I've been for over 50 years focused on the destination. That it's sometimes hard for me to stop and see the beauty along the way. But Will Smith said this thing. We're coming in for a landing. He said that his dad taught him how to build a wall. And you don't build a wall by focusing on build a wall. You focus on putting one brick perfectly, and then you lay another brick perfectly, and then another brick perfectly. And then if you lay the bricks long enough, then the wall is erected. That didn't resonate with me because my dad wasn't a mason. And if he was, I didn't know anything about it. But what I did realize about filmmaking, you cannot make a film entirely at one time. Making a film comes down to frame, one frame, and one scene at a time. And when you're making that scene, you have to pay attention to all the details in that scene. Are there props in the scene? Are there pictures on the wall? What, not just what the actors are saying, but what are the actors wearing? What kind of emotion? It called in a type of focus that I realized I do not live my life the way I work on set. And this one thing is changing my life, to focus on one scene at a time. But the secret to making a great movie is to focus on a scene with the end in mind. And that's kind of like a dualism that you have to live your life. Yeah, you need to focus on the scene, but you also got to be thinking about where you're going. But you can't focus too much on where you're going that you miss what's happening in the scene, and you can't focus too much on the scene that you forget where you're going. Oh, I hope you got something tonight. I hope this was good for someone. I hope this speaks to you in such a way that it gives you some insight. What are you saying to yourself? What are you feeling about yourself? The most important relationship you can have in this world is the one that you create with yourself. So, hope y'all got some tonight. Carla, I see that you said, "Hey, everyone," and say, "Dang, that's deep." Well, Carla, I appreciate it. I'm glad. I'm glad that was deep for you, and I hope you got something. Thank you all who tuned in tonight. I don't know if you got any questions, but I'll give you a few minutes. And if you do have questions, I'd love to answer. And matter of fact, next week I want to just do questions. I don't want to just get up here and just talk. I want to answer some of the things that you're thinking about. So I will try to focus on trying to promote that for next week, that we talk about questions, that we talk about your questions, like where you are in your journey or some of the challenges that you may be facing. So I would love to do that because I feel like I'm about ready to make the transition. I think I'm ready to focus more on actually having a traditional podcast because I think I'm winning. I think I'm starting to win this process. I think I have significantly overcome the fears of how I look and how I'm perceived. And I think I'm getting stronger at connecting with myself here and not being so overly concerned about how I look and finding my own rhythm and trusting that. So I'm getting there. I'm getting there, and I think when we get there, it's gonna be really cool because then I can work on the other stuff. But the foundation is here. Focus on the scene with the end in mind. I think I'll meditate on that. That's right. That's good food for thought. So, hey, y'all, my time is up. Thank you all so very much for joining. Talk to you soon. Love you all.